Hello and blessings, beautiful souls. I hope you can hear me. I hope everything is streaming loud and clear and all of that kind of good fun stuff. So I wanted to drop in and have a little bit of a magical chat. Hi Claire, hi Miriam. How are you all going? Can you hear me? Can someone just drop an emoji or a thumbs up to say that you can hear me clearly? Because I've had a few audio and microphone issues in the past with Zoom, and I just want to double check now every single time to make sure that I'm loud and clear, if that makes sense. I just finished a live stream, an initiation decompression session. Hey Bria, through Patreon, because the Coven over on Patreon has just gone through their initiation process. And so we do an initiation decompression a couple of weeks after that to allow people to process. Oh, great. Thanks, Claire. Fantastic. Thanks, Miriam. And so I just wanted to, I can hear you. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. That's great. That's great. So I wanted to drop in and just have a little bit of a magical chat because there's a lot going on at the moment, and I've been through a lot at the moment, and I mean a lot magically speaking. You know, I find myself in a really contemplative headspace simply because, you know, I've broken my foot. Proper ankle break and damaged the ligament. So I've been reading and I've been researching and I've been playing around with my tools and my equipment, whatever I've got down here. And I have to say, I'm feeling really, really grateful to my past self for having brought down a lot of my ritual equipment to create a second altar here in my tiny home, because I work and do readings from the top cottage. So it's a ways for me. And hi everyone. It's almost full moon, yeah. And my full moon, not my full moon, but my moon app, it let me down. It told me it was a Scorpio moon, and I was too like to second guess it. But then I looked and I'm like, wasn't last month a Scorpio moon? But it's a Sagittarius kind of blood moon. So let me down. It let me down. Nevertheless, what was I going to say? Yeah, so there's been a lot going on, magically speaking, because I have been a little bit injured here. I'm in good spirits and everything, and I've got heaps of like lovely helping hands around me. But, you know, it gets to a point where you just want to do things for yourself. So I made myself go to the supermarket yesterday and listen to an audiobook, a magical audiobook, and just like it was early. I dropped the kids off to school and then went straight to the supermarket, and I was just taking my time. And then by the time I was back, I was like, I'm done for the whole day. I can't put any more weight on my good foot. So then I sit down and I read and I research and I write and I journal and I do lots of different things that help me feel calm and connected, magically speaking. Now, I recently went through a really intensive shamanic ceremony, a really, really intense shamanic ceremony. This was just over the weekend, and so much came up for me. Like it was next level. It was next level. It was everything that I needed. And the shaman who facilitated it is Shipibo trained. So this beautiful soul, she lived and you know, practiced or learnt her style of shamanism in the Amazon rainforest under a Shipibo shaman, and she was there for a period of 2 or 3 years, and now she's doing ceremony here in Australia. She's based in Sydney, and she has all of her shamanic, you know, ingredients, equipment, and all of that type of thing sent to her from her, you know, her teacher, from her shaman teacher in the Shipibo rainforest in Peru. So it's a really beautiful story, and she holds a hell of a space, and that's a beautiful thing. And it's such a gift as someone who facilitates so much and who creates so much and who teaches so much. There are times where I just need to take a step back and then be a student or be a part of the experience rather than facilitating or overseeing it or organizing it, because it seems like that's predominantly what I do. And so this has Hi, Rachel. So, so that is definitely something that, you know, that I needed, and I didn't even know that I needed it. And it was so fantastic because I thought, you know, everything was sorted out for this ceremony. It was meant to happen in February, but then COVID, and then it was meant to happen in late March, but then COVID again. And finally it got pushed to May, and I'd broken my foot. So I'm like, I don't even know if I can do this, because there's a certain amount of dieta that you need to do. So 2 weeks ahead of time, if not longer. 2 weeks is like an absolute, you know, minimum from the date of the ceremony. So, and I was trying to wean myself off pain meds because I have codeine-based pain meds from when I first broke my ankle, which were making me unwell. So I was trying not to take them, but then there were anti-inflammatories that I needed to take. The pain was next level. It was really exciting, I've got to say. But I weaned myself off. I literally had about 4 days of pain meds until I had no pain meds at all. Not at all. It was crazy. And I tried to be really kind. So I did as little as possible, which meant that I had a lot of time to do a lot of thinking and a lot of processing and a lot of creating and journaling and reading and all that kind of stuff. But I found myself a little bit slumpy there because I'm like, you know, I run hot, guys. I really do. I run really hot. I've got a lot of Aries in my natal chart. So I'm often just the one that's going, let's get some, you know. I'm really like calling people, friends, and let's do this, let's do that. And I love collaborating, and I'm really active, and I have to be doing something all of the time, either something here, like I'm vacuuming or washing the dishes or folding the clothes. I have to be doing something, or out and about with friends, like let's collaborate, let's have a journaling session, and let's do a yoga class. You know, I just have to have that kind of active experience all of the time. It just sort of makes me feel really, I don't know, alive and a part of something. I can't quite explain it, but I collaborate with people because I really get a lot out of it. And yeah, I haven't been doing that. I've been sitting in my space. I've been submitting to the fertile void, and a lot has come up, and I've got new exciting things happening in the background already. I'm collaborating with friends for this, and you know, there's ideas flowing now because I've just allowed myself, like, it was frustrating and tense to get there. Hello, Shayla. How you going? Latricia. I hope I pronounced that okay, correctly. Latricia? I'm saying hello to everyone. Hello. Yeah, so as far as, oh gosh, I would love to tell you more about the shaman experience, but I'm going to need to process it a little bit more. And I've got to say that that is as close to home as I have felt in a very, very long time. Actual South American mojo magic. And I was like, oh my God, you're just pieces of the Amazon, pieces of my homeland. Like within my reach, I'm touching things and kashiambus and beautiful ephemera. I just felt so connected to home, which also was very, very healing for me. And, you know, and the more I try to reach these types of, let me have a sip of my tea, the more I try to reach these deeper pockets of magic that belong to my heritage, the more they start to manifest. Like the more I set that intention, I'm like, okay, I need to connect, you know. And it's one of those things that when you have an ancestral practice, it can be a bit of a struggle if you're not on ancestral land, surrounded by ancestors or ancestor spirits. So it's a bit of a struggle. So, and I struggle quite a bit. You know, I'm here, I'm on this beautiful bit of land, and, you know, I have this opportunity to make this place very ancestral. I have one ancestor buried here, like the ashes of an ancestor scattered on my property. So it's already begun. But in order for this to be truly ancestral, I need lots of ancestors buried here. And unfortunately, my Australian ancestors are not quite as woke as my Brazilian ancestors. It's not about comparing though. But it was so wonderful and so nurturing. And with this, you know, with our Coven rites of passage, which happens twice a year, first degree and second degree, it worked in really well with the natural rhythm. Not that it was by design, because like I said, it was meant to happen in February, but it ended up happening in March, which is the time of the veil. And my Coven on Patreon and I were designing our own wheel, our own Coven calendar, something that really, really genuinely connects with each person in their biosphere and takes everyone's location and practice into consideration. So May has become Memory May, a time of ancestral honoring and ancestral veneration, a time of remembrance, ancestral altar, food, healing ancestral trauma, but it's the honor of remembrance. And that proved to be really beautiful. So when I was, you know, in ceremonial space, in the dark, like journeying with the sound of like the drums and the actual songs of the plants, I was able to go on a really beautiful spirit walk, and it's just so good. It was so nourishing. It was so everything that I needed. Honestly, it really, really was. And it just made me realize that I need to do more of this, because it's been a very long time since I have been, you know, the person in the room that wasn't doing the work, that wasn't overseeing it. And I'm like, I want to do more of that. I want to be the participant more. I want to participate more. And it was funny because I was in a room where all of the people participating in the same capacity as myself were all shaman trained or witches. And they were all like people who were used to overseeing and facilitating as well. So it was just like that really nice relaxation experience, knowing that you had a really great facilitator. And it was just such an incredible experience to be shared with such an incredible bunch of people as well. So there was a total of 9. And it was a small group, but because it was such an intense experience, you couldn't have anything more than that. So yeah, it makes me want to do more of it. It really does, because there's a really beautiful magic to it. And you know, it's just been a fairly magical time, I must say. I did a tarot pick a card for Coven, because I do them for Patreon, all of Patreon. So for the new and the full moons, I tend to do tarot picker cards. And this is why I was angry about my moon app, like misleading me. But the cards that came up, they had some fervor in them. And, you know, it was 4 piles underneath 4 crystals. So we had desert rose, carnelian, rose quartz, and sodalite, 4 piles. And I used the Queen of the Moon Oracle. Hang on, let me see if I can remember them all. Queen of the Moon Oracle, the Tarot of Delphi or Delphi, the Green Witch Tarot, the Magic of You Oracle, and the Universe Has Your Back. So 5 decks. So, you know, it was an extensive sort of you know, tarot pick a card experience that's up there. And I've got to say that the messages that came out, and here's the unusual thing, I love the unusual patterns and the synchronicities and things like that, but I'm pretty sure, and if I remember this correctly, there were 3 queens across 4 piles: the Queen of Pentacles, the Queen of Cups, and the Queen of Swords. So 3 out of 4 queens. That was a really, you know, feminine, divine, feminine, heavy type of reading, which again, it helped to drag up quite a bit. And I don't know, I walked away from that feeling really like touched by it. There are times as a reader where you are reading for other people, but that reading will naturally affect you. It's part of being immersed in your reading and not being detached. You can be detached, and sometimes it's very good, especially if you are doing a reading for someone who has a very heavy theme or subject matter going on throughout their reading, and it's good to distance yourself. But for things like new moons and full moon readings, which is about, capturing the vitality of these lunar cycles and seeing how you can magically work with these beautiful, lunar bodies, throughout their different phases. Yeah, it's such a beautiful experience. And I walked away from that feeling, oh gosh, I'm so open at the moment to receive. And so just doing a tarot picker card, I walked away going, oh God, I loved that. I felt it. I felt it in my heart. I walked away going, oh, and I'm tapping and I'm like, yeah, I can feel you there. Like, I can feel you there in my heart and in my solar plexus as well. So I walked away feeling tremendously like hit and lit and nourished by it. Oh, hi, lady. How you going? Oh, thanks, Brittany. I'm glad you made it as well. So I wanted to ask what you guys have been up to or what you're planning to get up to, more to the point, because it's full moon today. I did this reading yesterday so that it would be ready for my patrons today. And, and I was just so inspired. After I did that full moon tarot picker card for Patreon, I sat down on my computer and I created I created a PDF for Tarot for Esoteric Evolution, which is part of Card Slinger. And it's all about magical tarot spreads. So I have 10, really beautiful magical tarot spreads for my card slingers next week that just came out of me so naturally, so quickly. After I'd done that reading, I was like, wow, I really touched on something incredible yesterday. And I just had it bubbling away inside of me. And yesterday I ran a pretty tight ship as well. Even with my kids, I have them this week, which typically means, because I have my kids 1 week on, 1 week off, I do less work on the weeks that I have the kids, obviously, because they're my priority. And then the following week, I get in there and I get a lot done. And so I was surprised that I managed to do as much as I did just yesterday. But it was that build up to the moon and, just touching that magic of that reading, because it just felt like it was popping and crackling in front of me. And my altar just felt really like pulsing, like this odd pulsation, really alive, really moving, really flowing. And I've got all sorts of shit on that altar. Honestly, I've got, oils and sprays and dried rose petals that used to be fresh, but they're dried from my own garden. So I have that, that energy there, and crystals and statuary and all sorts of things, right? So I have that there. And it just really, it felt really good to be there. I can't really stay there for too long because I require sitting down pretty quickly because of my ankle at the moment. And I do try not to put a whole lot of weight on my other foot, mostly because I still have things that I need to do, like wash the dishes. I have to stand up to do that. So that's putting a lot of weight there, and, tidying and a little bit of vacuuming and that. I have a small space, so lucky me. But, standing there, I was just I was pushing myself as far as I could go, because I stood up there for half an hour. I think the actual pick a card reading was 30 minutes in length. I think it was somewhere in the vicinity. So let's say half an hour. So half an hour standing there on one foot, basically. It was too much for me. So then I walked away and I sat down, and then, I just had this beautiful, I don't know, I just really felt it. Sometimes you just really feel it. What does Brittany have to say? When there's an eclipse on a full moon, can you still put out moon water and charge crystals? I wouldn't advise it. Eclipses are really funky energy, funky in an unusual way. And it's always better. There's a lot of unknown when it comes to an eclipse. The moon becomes hidden. So there's a shadow element to it. So I would not do that. You can, in fact, create eclipse water though. So if you ever need some kind of, ambiguous type of ingredient to mask something, or to create, darkness, or to bring about shadow in a divine, feminine, magical way, then you can actually put a little jar of natural water out there and capture yourself some full moon eclipse water and write the sign that it's in, the date that you collected that water, and keep it aside for a special occasion. Pop it in the fridge probably is the best idea, but that's an ingredient that you may want. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I am still working on how to make intentions and how to work with moon energy. Well, working with intentions is actually not difficult at all. What I would recommend that you do, Corinne, is to sit down and determine what it is that you want. Work in an order of priority, okay? So you might have a couple of goals in mind, right? But I want you to try and unify as much as you possibly can. So what's at the very top of your list? What's it, determine the hierarchy of your goals. And when you have that one that's at the very top, look at it. What is it? Is it something to do with career? Is it something to do with love? Is it something to do with finances? Is it something to do with travel? Like what is the theme around that goal? And then choose the moon, the astrological aspect. Choose the moon that is best suited for that. If you're beginning something and you really want to start a new cycle, then work with the new moon. So if you're looking for a new job, for instance, or you're looking for a new love affair, a new partner or something like that, begin with the newer phase of the moon. And you can do something as simple as lighting a nice white candle, inscribe your name on that candle, anoint your candle with something lovely. Grab yourself a little crystal if you have them. Not everyone likes to work with crystals, but if you do have a little crystal, grab it. And then grab yourself a piece of paper, write your name on it, write the date, write the time, write the lunar phase, and create your petition. Create your intention into a petition, or transform your intention, that's what I'm going for, into a petition. So, and write it in the affirmative as though you are so grateful that you've already received this. So it's that, tricking that brain. So we write from a place of pure, undiluted gratitude. It takes a while to get yourself into that headspace, but once you've got yourself into that headspace, feel the joy of that experience inside of you. You want to feel it. You really want to feel it in your heart. You want to feel it in your solar plexus. If it's something creative, you might feel it in your svadhisthana, so your sacral. If it's something about security and money, you might feel it deep in your root chakra, your muladhara. So these are options for you. So you can sit there and you can write that out, anoint it, mist it with some perfume if it's something amorous, like make it a beautiful experience for yourself and just work intuitively in that space. And then fold it. If you're bringing something to you, fold it towards yourself, clockwise towards yourself, clockwise towards yourself. If you're trying to banish something from your life, then fold it away from you. So this way down, anti-clockwise, down, anti-clockwise. And that's what you do. And then you can pop a little crystal on top of that, leave it next to your candle, and just affirm that intention. So every time you can let that candle burn a little bit and then snuff it. The next day, you're going to create a continuity of practice. Light it again and affirm that intention. Try to recapture that feeling that you had when you were writing from that place of gratefulness, and visualize, if you're able to, if you have aphantasia, feel it, smell it, create the tactile experience. What would a new house feel like? What things can you do? And if you are a person that truly struggles from visuals, grab your phone or grab a computer and start to look things up to put that image in your mind. See yourself in these places, see yourself in these images as much as you possibly can. There's always a way around it. But that's a really nice way of working some, new moon and full moon intentions. Intentions are best set on the new moon anyway. Full moons are time for actualization, for high magic. As far as that's my experience anyway. I always find that full moon energy is very intense. And if you've been successful in working your intention from the new to the full, and you've been able to hold that energy intact for that, for that waxing half of the lunar phase, then a release ritual or a manifestation ritual at a full moon is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Again, depending on the moon. So that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Oh no, Lucy. Can you get it? Is it lost forever? Are you in a semi, like, multi-story building? Oh, you're welcome, honey. That's fine, Corinne. Hope that helps. No worries, Brittany. So there's a lot that we can do during the full moon, but I would highly recommend for this full moon, being that we have that, you know, it's a Sagittarian eclipse, isn't it? Let me find my lunar app. Today. Let's go summary, dashboard. Oh gosh, we've got a retrogrades. That sucks. It's back. What is wrong with you? See, my moon app has gone back to, you can't see it, it's gone back to Scorpio, as a Scorpio moon. It doesn't know what it wants to do, put it that way. Oh no, now it's Sagittarius. Like, it literally changed again to Sagittarius before my very eyes. For fuck's sake. Anyway, so we know that we have a Sagittarius moon with an eclipse. So this is a great time to journey. When you can create a journey, something primal happens. So when I have had the experience of being able to do a journey during an eclipse, I have, you know, full lunar eclipses, you know, fire of Azrael type of stuff, you know, beaches, coven experiences, or personal private experiences. There is always a primal edge. Every time I enter journey space, it could be utter darkness, utter stillness, utter silence, and I will still hear drums. I will still hear drums. It amplifies my heart rate, like that boom, 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 boom. It's not my heart that's drumming. I hear primal, deep drums all around me. So I know I'm entering some kind of unique kind of spirit space and journey space. And then I get taken on a ride, and it's typically something that can be quite soulful and enriching. So I tend to work with shadow elements during a full moon. It brings my shadows to life, so to speak. Not all of them do. I'm not trying to generalize here, but there have been times when my shadows have actually been brought to life. And, you know, let's say it's something to do with insecurity, for instance. Insecurity looks like a person or a being, or has a form, has a color, maybe wearing clothes, very kind of actualized experience, like I'm dealing with an entity, with a spirit of sorts. And, you know, I've had the experience of sitting across one of my shadows, and they have had this archetypal like vibe, and really kind of vampire without actually being a vampire, and sitting along a long table with like candelabras and dripping candles and food and pomegranate, very underworld kind of vibe, and just having this conversation with my shadow during a lunar eclipse. It was next level. Like, these are the types of experiences that stay with you. And if you're a person that journeys often, not every journey is going to stay with you, but these types of journeys, they do stay with you, because a lot can come from that. And I would recommend that for those who have little experience doing spirit journeys during a eclipse environment, have an anchor point similar to the tether that you would have if you were astral traveling. So they say, wrap a cord around you, tether yourself to something. If you've ever read the middle grade series Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, when they're riding the train, the umbrella then becomes the tether. The umbrella is the personal effect that is left there so that you can ride that spirit train. Very, it's a good visual to have. And always try to tether yourself to something. So a grounding stone, a personal effect, something, prosperous and good, something that holds good energy. And it's a great way of coming back. So it's not that you'll get lost, but it can take you on a really topsy-turvy ride, and you lose time in a journey when there is an eclipse. So you might think that you've been there for like 10 minutes and you may have actually been in there for like 4 hours. That's why magic isn't the best option during a lunar eclipse. I've had an incredible full lunar eclipse experience on a beach in far north Queensland with my coven. And like that was something out of a movie, out of a story, something that was so big in front of you. The moon was enormous. You know, the sight of the moon covered by, you know, just completely covered, the side of the moon covered, and just that ring, that very light ring around it, and the movement of nature, the fire of Azrael going, charms and baptizing spirit candles and all of that type of thing. Oh, stays with you. They're the types of things that leave those incredible visuals. Yes, there's a Mercury retrograde coming. Yep, lunar eclipse in Sag. Thank you, Snow the Witch. Oh, damn, Lucy. That sucks. It's a sacrifice. Consider it gone. It's a thing. It's a thing. Like when you break a crystal, you have to like, oh, okay. What type of stone is it? You want to make sure that you know what type of stone has chosen to leave your, you know, your possession, I guess, your life. What stone is that? You can look at it as something that you can let go of. What does that stone kind of rule, so to speak? What's its power? What's its attributes? What have you been using it for? All that kind of good fun stuff. It's hard though, because we can develop relationships with our stones as though they are pets, and it's a true genuine loss, especially if it's one of your favorites. So sorry. Yeah. But yeah, that's the crazy stuff. So there's a lot of magic going on, folks. There's a lot of magic. And you know, when you start looking at the back end of magic as well, so rather than accepting the status quo, and this is wisdom that I'm going to provide for you here, when you enter the realm of magic, there are all these theories, language, models, pagan wheel of the year, Sabbath dates, you know, farmer's almanac, the vibe for the moons, like lunar magic, you know, grimoire magic, all of this sort of stuff. And you come in there and you learn and you accept. But you get to a point where you read enough and you need to put into practice. And what comes after that, very few people actually talk about. So that's what I'd like to talk about after that. So you've read all the books, you've read all the things, you've learned all the things, all of that type of thing. Sorry, there was just somebody laying down some really beautiful emojis and it was being blocked, so I had to work on that. Yes, so what happens behind that is that you have to look at those practices very carefully. So you know those practices, you learn them because you've read all about them, then you put them into practice, you actually do them. Let's say we're talking about something simple here like candle magic. So you learn about the color of candles, you learn about how to anoint, inscribe, and ritually prepare a candle. You know about the directions that you need to rub, or up and down mean, or from the center down and from the center up. You learn all those types of little, you know, details to the point where you feel very, very comfortable with the type of, you know, oils that you're going to use. You know those oils, you know the herbs that you're going to roll your candle in, you know the candle color, everything you know really well. And then you put that into use and you see how that translates into your life. And after that, you need to sit there as a practitioner, and this is what adept practitioners, experienced witches, long-term practitioners of magic do. Why the fuck do you do it that way? Why do you anoint a candle from from the middle up and the middle down, or, you know, why do you anoint it in particular directions? Why is red a color for love? Why is it not a color for war? Like, you have to start asking and questioning, and you look behind. Well, who first said it? Who first wrote it down in a book? Where does this information come from? And that's the next step, is questioning absolutely everything so that it makes perfect sense. My beautiful coven on Patreon, the Witch Weaver Coven, is right now doing that. We are completely disassembling the neo-pagan wheel of the year. Why? Why is it called that? Why does it happen like that? Where did that come from? What are the practices that are associated? What is the actual like seed of magic for that to have been born? So everything, we're looking and we're digging through it all, and we're looking at the back end of it. So rather than looking at something like this is the beautiful wheel, and this is all the color and the beautiful graphics that you get with the neo-pagan wheel. I'm holding up my phone because my black book would just really, oh no, I can do it. It disappears. Anyway, so here you have it. And then you have to, instead of looking just here, you look behind it. What's here? What's behind it? What are the origin? What's the origin story for these types of things? And I've got to say that after doing this for a number of weeks now, months actually, wait, let me tell you. When did we start this? April 7th. We started this on April the 7th. So we're heading into June now. So all of April, most of May, including today. And so we've been at this for, let's say, 2 months now, and we're going to continue on for another couple of months. And the more we look at these, you know, neo-pagan dates and the Sabbaths as they are, the more we have come to understand something that's really fundamental, that it's about the energy that exists astrologically and seasonally about those times, and what we can do to interpret that in a way that has more depth and more meaning to each of us individually and collectively as a coven. So it becomes one of those, you know, those deep explorations of magic and looking at the source of power and magic behind those dates. It's been really, really quite eye-opening, and you know, it's definitely something that I wanted to talk about, you know, because this is a magical chat, and it's a way of bringing more magic, more meaning, more purpose into your own practice. Don't just accept it, question it, and question it intelligently. It's not to be berated. It's not to be criticized, judged, or berated. It's a matter of questioning. When we question something, it deepens our understanding and it creates, you know, precedent. And, you know, that's what we've been working on over there. And I always like to jump on here from time to time and talk a little bit about, you know, what we're doing over in Coven, because there's many people who have never been a part of a coven and who don't know what covens are all about. And, you know, digital covens are relatively, well, they're not new anymore. They've been around for a little while. But the idea still sort of is very interesting to people. Like, how can you have a digital coven? I assure you, you can, and it can be very, very successful. So it's nice to be able to talk about these types of things. Oh, very nice. Oh, like alchemy, breaking it down into pieces and putting them together again. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a pure meaning authentic to us as practitioners. That's exactly right. Snow the Witch. And yeah, because I've never been one to just accept things at face value. And it's very easy to, when you are in unknown territory. So if you're absolutely brand spanking new to the craft, if you are a neophyte, a baby witch, a beginner, call it what you will, whatever label you like and feel comfortable with, and you feel that honors, you know, that particular position, when you are in that space, questioning is not what you're doing. You're not necessarily doing that. Intelligently, to a degree, you are, because we're all questioning as we move along, but we're learning, we're looking to understand, we're looking to acknowledge and understand, and acknowledge and understand and learn and learn and learn. And once we have, you know, once we have reached that point of understanding and we have some of that knowledge and that experience under our belts, then it becomes a better time to question even more than what you might have in the beginning, because it allows you then to understand exactly the practice and what it feels like to work with that practice, and how it feels when you are engaged in that practice, in that ritual, in that spell, etc., what the ingredients do. I can't tell you how many times I have been, you know, crafting something very, you know, botanical based, like a spell, a ritual that is very heavy on, you know, plant spirit. And, you know, I reach for my resources and I feel just there's an absence of something there. And then there have been times where I have been in a space of need and in a space of power and in a space of true, genuine, driven magic. And I don't look anything up at all. I just get in there and start doing things. They are the most successful of my spells. I'm pulling from a place that is much deeper than surface learning, than the books that I have around me. And I'm pulling from a place of confidence as well. And the more I've done that in the past, you know, I've been a practitioner of the craft all my life. So, you know, and I'm a hereditary witch. So the more I've done that, the more I lean into this, you know, this awareness that I know what I need to do. I have every piece of information that I need in order to succeed in this particular endeavor, this spell, for instance. The more I trust in that, and the more I understand that my spirits will happily guide me if I allow them to, the better my experience magically is. And then I find myself stepping back going, well, I used cinnamon like this, and I used broom straw like that, and I used cascara sagrada like this, and Palo Santo like that. And it's not necessarily the way that the modern books are telling me to use them. And then I go, well, these books are wrong. That's how I reach that conclusion. I'm like, this is rubbish and it's not worth a damn. And I don't mean that to sound really harsh, and each to their own, and each experience that we have determines, you know, how we perceive something. So if we're having tremendous amounts of success with some form of healing using an unconventional botanical, I can't even begin to think of one right now. I just can't even think of one right now. Let's say we're healing. We're doing like this incredible healing work with this particular botanical that is known as primarily a love botanical, let's say. So we're using this love botanical, this well-reputed, acknowledged love botanical for this healing. The more you can see how, you know, certain ingredients have a back end to them. And I also think, and this is something that comes from the fact that I've lived in different continents, right? The way that a rose behaves in South America is not the way that a rose behaves in Tasmania or Australia. It's just not. They have a different language. And I would even say that the rose here is a great healing rose. The rose in South America, in my particular region, speaks of pombagira, a specific type of spirit in the spiritist centers. So Eshu, pombagira. And so they have a different energy to them depending on where they come from. And that's something that you learn just from that experience. And it's really good to get in there and question as often as you possibly can. I'm so in that stage of reading but haven't done any spells yet. Oh, Brittany, take your time. Take your time. Build a little book of build a little journal of things that you'd like to experience. So take down information that you want to remember and start to play around when you're ready. You've got all that ready at your fingertips. It's very good. It's a really beautiful time. Good conversation you got going there, guys. I'm really cool. Very nice, Patricia. Oh, so much beautiful conversation here, guys. I love it. Magical chats are so nice to have. All sorts of things can come up and we can share some really unique information and some ideas and interact with one another. And I love community. I love it. I love community. I think community is very important. And, you know, I think that community these days has transformed quite a bit. And with so much that goes on in different communities, so much bickering and fighting and trolling and all the, I don't even really want to talk about it. It's really important for us to find those communities that actually help and support and honor that and really be grateful for that. And I'm very grateful for you guys here. I really am, because you always bring such beautiful energy into space, and you're always so respectful and kind towards one another and supportive. And that's a really, really beautiful thing to have around you, you know, as a creator. You know, we get hit with a lot, but, you know, and I've really pulled back on doing live streams, just because they become so much harder with everything now. I still don't even know how to schedule a live stream. Like, it's beyond me now. They've done so much complicated business that I don't even know how to schedule a live stream anymore. It's ridiculous. But, you know, I'd like to start doing more live chats like this. And it just, you know, it's a testament to the magic that is present around us right now, because I haven't done one for a really long time, and I felt called to after the initiation decompression session for Coven. And we were talking about rites of passage and, you know, our actual initiation rituals and the 9-day sacrifice to Odin that comes beforehand. And that in itself is a really involved and, you know, journey style ritual. And, you know, there's a lot of preparation and a lot of priming for everything to happen. And so by the time people are ready to do their initiation rituals, you know, their spirit is really like affirmed. I don't even know how else to say that. Like, in my culture, we have this term called afirmando cabeza, and it's like to firm your head, to make your head feel really firm and secure and focused and, you know, grounded, centered. It's a really all-encompassing type of statement. And that's definitely what we do on the build-up. So by the time initiation comes, you have to release that pressure, because so much has happened to you, like magically speaking. Ritual has taken you for a ride. Journey work has taken you for a ride. The spirits have touched you in ways that have just taken you for a ride. And it's really nice to do that decompression. So I came out of that really early, and I'm like, I feel so enveloped by magic, and it's a full moon, and I just really wanted to touch base and have a chat and talk about magic, just pure magic, in no uncertain terms, you know, with no kind of grand theme in mind, just a magical chat like we have done. And oh, Patricia, you made my heart swell. Thank you. And it's so nice to be able to sit here and talk and chat and just share ideas and with you, and I hope you've enjoyed it. But for right now, I'm going to go, and it's 11:16. I'm going to start preparing my lunch, because it takes me about 100 years to do. I just have to be really, really gentle with myself. So I start earlier than necessary. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So thank you so much to everyone who has hung out with me here today. It's been really lovely chatting with you all. And I hope that you have an incredible full moon. Eclipse, Sagittarian eclipse. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. And I hope that it's fruitful for you in some way, shape, or form. And I hope that, you know, anything that I've mentioned in this little chat has given you food for thought and will benefit you in your practice in some way, shape, or form. Before I go, I just wanted to say as well that I will be teaching at Tarot Summer School this year. All the links are up there for Tarot Summer School, and it's just started, and there's incredible classes and masterclasses, and I'm going to be teaching Amp Up Your Tarot Practice in Tarot Summer School. So that's something that I'm working on as well. and that if you ever want to participate in my Patreon community, please do. We are very welcoming. I have had people that have followed me here on YouTube for the longest time finally join and go, oh, I had no idea. I had no idea it was this fun. You know, so it's always really beautiful. It's a great space over there, really good people and very, very close community. Like I was saying here before, it's really good to have community, you know, and so we've got everything from magical book clubs. I have a magical book club, which is currently enjoying a nice little readathon in teams. Right now, I have Card Slinger, and we are currently exploring Tarot for Esoteric Evolution. And so next week, that tier on Patreon will be getting 10 magical tarot spreads to play around with. And then I have the Coven as well for the magical community. That's a learning, engaging kind of community. And if you're not familiar with Patreon, the higher up you go in your tiers, the more you get. So people in Coven, which is the highest tier, also get all the content from Card Slinger, all the content from the book club, and then the 2 content pieces that go to the first 2 tiers, which are $1 and $2. They're typically the, blog posts and the tarot picker cards and things like that, and anything that I really feel like sharing. They get everything. So if you're in Card Slinger, then you get anything under that Card Slinger tier. So if you've never participated in Patreon, it's a really good way to support me and my channel and other creators as well. It's a good space. It has its flaws as far as like the setup goes, but we managed to get around it through private Discord servers and private Facebook groups. I really hate Facebook, but I've got good little spaces hidden. They're very private. They're secret in Facebook for that type of thing. So we can have those nice interactions in the background, and content flows really freely. So I get private video content over there, audio content over there, PDFs, photography, blog posts. There's so much, and live streams can happen through there as well, like the one that I did this morning. So it's a really good platform for that type of sharing, and it's very private, so that if you are, if you're trying to conceal your practice a little bit as well and you still want community, then your name's not going to be plastered everywhere on the socials, and nobody's going to know, because no one can see who's in Patreon. You can't see who the patrons are. So it's all very secure, very private, and it's a community away from the rest of the world, really, at the end of the day. But it's a way to support my channel as well. And it keeps me creating, and it keeps me, learning and sharing, and it enables me to do so much for my beautiful community. So I just wanted to thank all my patrons. And just thought that I'd share that with you in case, because I get a lot of questions about it. Patreon's still very new, and the tier sections of Patreon is very new, and it bears mentioning anyway. All right, my beautiful souls. Well, I will talk to you again soon. Look after yourselves. Thank you for tuning in, and I will chat to you later. I hope you're all doing well. Good luck with everything, and I will check in with you as soon as I'm able to. Much love. Many blessings.